Ladies and gents, welcome back. We're talking about a win this morning of sorts. This will inevitably just be 2 steps forward, 1 step back in the end. But this was news that dropped on Friday, and that's what they do when they want to make sure it stays out of the news cycle. Here I am talking about it Monday morning, and that is the Liberals withdraw controversial amendment. Marco Mendicino's office says the Liberal government had consulted only 3 gun control groups, but no hunting or firearms rights groups. This is from the Globe and Mail. Now, what was dropped? It was the amendment, the controversial amendment that would ban virtually every hunting rifle and shotgun in Canada. The amendment to Bill C21. Now, Bill C21 still on the table. This is a firearms handgun bill that they introduced earlier last year. They introduced this last year, and it's been going through the Parliament. Liberals withdraw controversial amendments to gun law. This is from the Globe and Mail. Links, as always, in the description down below. In a major retreat on Friday, the federal government withdrew controversial amendments to its gun control bill. The now removed changes would have cemented bans on thousands of assault-style firearms, but has been widely criticized for also targeting guns used by hunters. Assault-style, I mean, if you're assaulting deer and fowl in the woods, yeah, you could call it that, but no, this is largely just banning guns in Canada. Public Safety Minister Marco Mendicino says his government would try to refine and reintroduce the prohibitions on assault-style bans. Of course, you will. A move for which the Bloc Québécois signaled its support. Now, if you want to know a little bit about the history of this, you can go back and watch my interview with Rod Giltaca. He's, of course, the spokesperson for the CCFR, Canadian Firearms Lobby in Canada, and talking about what they were actually introducing in this bill. And it was the sneakiness of it was the fact that they were bringing this bill amendment at the last minute after they had already debated it in the House, and they brought in this new amendment, which was larger than the bill itself, and that's what became so controversial in this bill. Liberal House Leader Mark Holland wouldn't say whether the aim was for that to be done through the new round of amendments to the bill, known as C21, or through an entirely new law. We didn't get it right, Holland told reporters. He also told the Blacklocks Reporter, Cabinet regrets its latest gun bill, says Government House Leader Mark Holland. Attempts to restrict hunting rifles were abruptly withdrawn Friday in the face of stiff opposition in the Commons Public Safety Committee. I get it deeply, profoundly. I don't think they do. Now, this was largely contested throughout Canada, and even people who would typically be Liberal supporters, the Liberal support they overdrew from their own support on that. In that, now this meme really sums it all up perfectly. Statistically, an AR-15 rifle is much less likely to be involved in a crime than a Liberal member of Parliament. And that's how we're feeling at this moment. Now, we're going back to having just Bill C21 in its original founding. Now, this is where a lot of people are taking the fight back and saying, no, we need to scrap this whole thing altogether. Now, they're going to be coming for these rifles regardless. This is just, they failed in this attempt here. Now, Eric Duncan putting that out there on Twitter with the Liberal C21 backtrack. I'm thinking today of the great Canadian who publicly and bravely stood up to their fellow hunters. Carey Price was attacked and degraded even by his own team. Today, he is vindicated. Well done, and thank you, Carey Price. Absolutely. Anyone who came out publicly against this should get a serious pat on the back for this. Now, again, it's not a complete win. The Bill C21 is still there. Just the amendments, the sneaky, slimy amendments that they put into the bill have been removed, but the bill itself is still not hitting the point, and the point is to reduce gun crime in Canadian urban areas, but the bill still removes the the ability to buy or sell handguns, even in rural areas in Canada. And this is largely, well, it's only for law-abiding citizens. Criminals will still be able to get a hold of firearms. They didn't do it through the legal processes anyway. Here's Rachel Dancho voicing her opinion on the House of Parliament.
The Minister of Public Safety spent the better part of January touring the country and talking to hunters about taking away their tools that they use, right? Because the Liberals are getting tough on guns, as they say. Gun control, right. Right, duck hunters, farmers, sport shooters, thank you, Mr. Speaker. He spent considerable time and resources going to talk to hunters about taking their firearms away. Meanwhile, police officers are being murdered in Toronto. People are being murdered on the subway. Why wasn't he touring our cities, our Public Safety Minister of Canada, to talk to police about what they're facing on a daily basis? Where's the time and resources on that? This is a Liberal government that's going to spend billions and billions of dollars coming after people like me, people in these benches that have firearms legally and lawfully, that hunt and shoot and with our families. That's what they're focused on. That's what all the resources are being focused on in this Liberal government when it comes to guns, for the most part. Meanwhile, people are being murdered by repeat violent offenders that continue to get bail. And that falls to the feet of the Liberal government. We can look at Bill C21, a bail reform bill they brought forward a few years ago. You talk to police, all those change of policies that made it easier for repeat violent offenders to get bail, those are coming home to roost now, Mr. Speaker. That's what we're hearing from frontline brave police officers in this country. We need to repeal the most harmful aspects of Bill C21. That would be leadership from the Prime Minister. Get tough on crime, tough on the 40 people being arrested 6,000 times for violent crime in Vancouver. Ensuring that those 24 people next year, because the stats are about the same every year in Toronto, over half the shooting murders are from people that are out on bail. Let's save those lives next year. That could be done. That could be done in the next few months. That could be announced today.
Yeah, that's incredible. And we also have other members. We have Alex Ruff getting out there to say his piece on what was going on here.
Gray Owen Sound.
Mr. Speaker, since this Liberal government took office, violent crime has increased by 32%, i.e. there's been 124,000 more violent crimes under their watch. Who are the primary perpetrators of these crimes? Repeat offenders and drug traffickers of illegal guns. What is the Liberal solution? Remove mandatory minimums and target law-abiding hunters and firearms owners. People like this retired RCMP officer who has 4 handguns that were carried by his grandfather and father during both World Wars. Unfortunately, due to the Liberals' handgun freeze, keeping them in the family is no longer possible. Meanwhile, recent victims of gun violence include a 17-year-old killed in broad daylight and another police officer murdered by a repeat offender out on bail and prohibited from owning a firearm. In an armed robbery this past weekend, regional police chiefs stated, quote, "This violent incident was avoidable. 2 of the arrested in this incident failed to adhere to the conditions of their release on previous charges. This is why we must pursue bail reform," unquote. Considering these disturbing facts, the Liberal government must withdraw their soft on crime Bill C5, make bail reform a priority, and withdraw Bill C21.
So the reason why all these conservative MPs are getting up and talking about bail reform is that the initial reason for and the stated goal for Bill C21 from the Liberal government, it was to stop gun crime. That's the whole point. Now, it's ludicrous in its inception to think that to get criminals to stop using guns against people in their crimes would be the solution being removing guns from law-abiding citizens, and then at the same time having their, well, as you heard here, the bail reform, releasing criminals out into the public. Now, Tracy Wilson was on Twitter putting out all of these. This was, again, the new campaign from the CCFR that just released recently, just last week. And it was pushing very hard. And again, this was effective, very, very much effective here. Tracy Wilson was also quoted by the Globe and Mail, or CBC, sorry. Meanwhile, a spokesperson for the CCFR, a firearms lobby group, called the Liberals' reversal a small win in a bigger battle. That's absolutely right. It's imperative we crush C21 in its entirety, Tracy Wilson said. Good work. Now let's refocus and scrap it all. Absolutely, scrap it all. And you can go to, I'll leave a link in the description down below, scrap21.ca, where you can go pick up all kinds of stuff that you can actually share online. You can get more information here about how to help out in the battle. Be an online activist, they say. Go to ccfrdownload.ca, and when you go there, you'll find all kinds of things that you can download onto your computer and then share it out. So it's original content on the web. Now you may know, like on websites, if you just leave links to YouTube videos, things like that, a lot of people just skip right over it. But if you put the original content right on your social media, people can view it right there, and it's more likely to make it out there. So you can see there's tons of stuff, tons of material that you can put out there to let people know what's actually happening, what the Liberal government's actually doing in Canada to ban firearms. Carte blanche, really, at the end of the day. That's the goal. That's where they're headed and what they're trying to do. But hey, let me know in the comment section down below what you think about this whole thing. Have I got it wrong? Am I not seeing the situation for what it is? Let me know if you think that. I believe that this is, again, like I said, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, because Bill C21 is still moving forward. Anyway, we'll see you in the next one. Keep on trucking.